Niros restaurant, the Purdle family, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. We have all foregathered here this evening for the release of the book on the iconic Niros restaurant entitled Niros, The Legacy Lives on the completion of its 65 years. We will begin the evening with floral greetings. I request Mrs. Anjali Purdle to please come and present a bouquet to Shri Arvind Singh Ji Mewar of Uday. Ladies and gentlemen, in the history of any city, you will find at least one restaurant or an eatery that becomes its symbol. The people of the city have an emotional bonding with such restaurants. These eateries evoke amazing devotion and die-hard loyalty among the people. I was surprised at the emotional, nostalgic reaction when Cafe Samovar downed its shutters recently in Mumbai. That the closing of an eatery, leading newspapers and even national news magazines like Outlook carried articles on the winding up of Cafe Samovar. Such loyalty-inspiring reactions can be discerned day in and day out in different cities. Don't forget the mutton biryani of paradise in Hyderabad. Ladies and gentlemen, no visit of mine to Mumbai will be complete without guzzling a beer or imbibing a tandoori portrait at Leopold's Cafe at Colaba Causeway. Even the cowardly bullets of the dastardly 26/11 attack on the Leopold's Cafe, ladies and gentlemen, could not kill the spirit of the eatery or the people who believe in it. Give a big hand to this one. In Jaipur, ladies and gentlemen, we have our very own Niros restaurant. 6.5 decades of labor of love of the Purdle family has seen generations of Jaipurwalas grow up on Niros. Its sumptuous food, its classy ambience, its impeccable service, not to forget the uber-friendly demeanor of the Purdle brothers, Vinay and Rajneesh. And earlier, of course, the dynamic late Mr. Wade Purdle, who then did not know that he was not just founding an eatery, but an institution. Ladies and gentlemen, if there is one restaurant in the Pink City having a cult following, it is Niros. Jaipurites swear by it. I will now invite Mr. Vinay Purdle to say a few words in welcome.
I never carried a slip of paper in any exam, but today I got one. Welcome. Sri Arvind Singh Ji Mewar of Jaipur, friends and well-wishers of Niros, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. A very good evening to you all. Today we gather here to release a book on completion of 65 glorious and eventful years of Niros restaurant. This has been possible with the support of generations of customers and well-wishers like you. On behalf of the Niros family, I wish to express our earnest gratitude to Shri Arvind Singh Ji Mewar of Udaipur for graciously accepting our request to release this book. Sir, I am indeed privileged and honored. This book on Niros is dedicated to my father, from whom we learned the nuances of the art of food and the importance of impeccable service and customer relationship. Our father worked very hard to bring Niros to its name today. And we are surely honored to carry on the good work that he began. This book is a compilation of a heartfelt story of hard work and a legacy which has continued till today. I wish to express my gratitude to all those who took time out to write their experiences about Niros for the book. I strongly feel that the celebration this evening is not only close to my heart and the further family, but to all those present here and all the customers of Niros. We hope you enjoy reading it. Thank you.
Memorabilia like the ashtrays which are not used now, old envelopes of the letters received, old copies of invoices, and we felt we should collect and condense these memories in form of a book. We brainstormed on what kind of a book it should be. Later we roped in a journalist friend to provide us honorary editorial support with the research and contents. I pitched in with a bit of editing. Rajneesh, Vinay and Amit dug out lots of old material and gave the general direction. And ladies and gentlemen, today the book is ready to be launched. I will now request the former Chief Secretary, Mr. Anniversary, to come and say a few words about his experiences of the Niros restaurant. A voracious reader, many of you might not know that Mr. Vash was instrumental in setting up of the PG Woodhouse Society in St. Stephen's many years ago, which is still going strong. According to an online article, at that time, it was the first ever Woodhouse Society in the world. He has been my former boss, Enrico, and working with him was indeed a great learning experience. Mr. Vash.
Vinay, members of the Purdle family and distinguished guests, Shri Arvind Singh ji, ladies and gentlemen, Vijay, Vinay is elder brother, and I were classmates in school for many years. And in a manner of speaking, Niros was like a family place. And therefore I deem it a great privilege to be asked to speak a little bit on Niros. I have grown up with the establishment like a large number of people from Jaipur. But may I begin by paying my homage to the memory of the late Shri Prakash brother, uncle brother to me, whose vision, self-belief and immense labor created Niros. It was his bold and enterprising spirit that led him to establish a modern restaurant in Jaipur in an era when going out of the house to eat was virtually unknown in most families. In the 50s and the 60s of Jaipur, Jaipur was a very small place, just 2.5 lakh people or so. And generally, in most families, not everywhere, but most families, to go out and eat was bad form. It was not done. In fact, as children, we were even told that eating out was to some extent discouraged because it's an unhealthy activity. Go out and eat. Kya baahar ja karke khane ki kya zarurat hai? Ghar hai na. Therefore, by creating such an avenue to attract people to break away from their traditional taboo, Shri Purdle introduced a veritable change in the prevalent code of social discourse in Jaipur. For this reason, I truly believe that his name should be placed alongside the names of all those luminaries. Found that the ambience, the gathering was not quite nice. We were not enjoying the gathering, and it was also getting very late, and the dinner was likely to be served much later. So my colleague and I looked at each other and we said, some way or the other, let's get out of this and we'll go and eat somewhere else. Well, we were able to make some kind of a fiddly excuse to the host and came out, and we didn't even talk to each other. It was natural that once we're going out, where else would you go? So we drove to Niros, obviously. We came there, must have been around late evening, 10 o'clock, 10:30 on a winter's evening. The shutters are half down at that time, this is the early 70s. And, but we were persuaded the gate man to let us in, we went in. There were not many people in the restaurant that time. So the two of us sat down. We were hungry, both of us, young people. We had a hearty meal. And then the time for reckoning came. The waiter brought the bill. Now, we hadn't even talked about it. We had not discussed the matter. We had not prepared ourselves for it. We were actually invited for dinner somewhere else. So there's no preparation for this. And I sort of assumed that here's my friend and he'll cough up the money. So now I looked at him and he looked at me and he said, well, here's the bill. I said, yeah, here's the bill, how about it? He said, I don't have the money. I said, my word, I haven't brought my wallet either. I don't have it. And here were two of us, perfectly respectable, reasonably senior government officers, having had a hearty meal in Niros, sitting on a late winter night without a penny on us. I didn't know what to do. It was hugely embarrassing, and well, we were stuck. Now, of course, we ribbed each other and said, well, dishes is the alternative, probably. We'll be asked to do the dishes. And my friend says, I'm strangely allergic to water, you know, in winters. And then we talked about our watches to be left behind or something. Anyhow, to cut a long story short, I decided to walk up to the counter and make a clean breast of it. The fact of the matter is that we've eaten and we don't have the money to pay for it. So we went up to the counter and Padre uncle was at counter at that time. I went up to him and I said, sir, my name is Anniversary, and this is what has happened. We're here, we had a meal, and we'll not be able to pay for it right now. But I assure you that the earliest opportunity, I'll come and settle the bill. Now, what happened is this probably would have, it was an embarrassing moment. But the uncle looked at me and smiled a little. He had a bit of a laugh. And then he said, तुम तो विजय के साथ वाले, विजय ने कभी कभी तुम्हारा नाम लिया है। मैंने कहा यहाँ अंकल मैं विजय के साथ था, और अब तो तुम सरकारी अफसर हो। मैंने कहा हाँ साहब, वो बात भी सही है, मैं हूँ। और अरे तो इसमें क्या है, तो घर के बच्चे हो, इतना सब भी चलता था। The manner, the affection with which he put his hand on my shoulder. I said, अरे घर के बच्चे हो, जब हो सके ले जाना, ऐसी कोई बात नहीं। Now, the incident is what can happen to anyone anyway. It is that hand on the shoulder for a gentleman who had only till that time, I mean, I had not, kind of really, I knew Vijay, Vinay, but uncle से इतनी कभी बात हुई नहीं थी। उन्होंने हाथ जो रखा, मैं कभी भूल नहीं सकता। Both I came later, we settled the bill as early as we could, but that incident of the gentleman who was there at that time, placing his hand affectionately on a young fellow's shoulder, I said, तो घर के बच्चे हो, फिर कभी ले जाना, इसमें कोई बात नहीं। Well, the affection carried on. Many years later, my wife and I, we were dining once in Niros, and we brought our two little young children at that time, they were very young. And the four of us were sitting on the table and having our meal when a waiter walks up to us and puts a chocolate cake, a small chocolate cake on our table. Now I was quite certain that there must be some mistake, it's probably been ordered by some other person, and the waiter's made an error, he's come and put it wrongly. So I said, नहीं, हमने तो उसको order नहीं किया था भाई, कहीं और का होगा. So he looked at me and said, नहीं साहब, ये यहीं के लिए, आपके लिए. So I was quite foxed and said, किस तरह से क्यों? So I was looking around and I saw Vinay at the counter. And there he was standing and broadly smiling. तो मैं विनय के पास गया, मैंने कहा विनय, क्या बात है? He said, आप चारों बैठे थे, पूरी फैमिली यहाँ आई हुई है और बड़े अच्छे लग रहे थे, हंस खुश रहे थे, कितने दिनों बाद चारों को देखना हुआ है. तो मैं was quite certain कि कोई ना कोई occasion है, तो मैंने सोचा I'll share the happiness with you. And sure enough, it was our daughter's birthday that day, and we brought her there. And just the vibe, Vinay looking at us and sending his compliments, it is something that the affection that carried on is something that we can never forget. And these are some of these incidents which make Niros feel like a home from home to us most of the time. Other restaurants did open in Jaipur, a few even in the immediate vicinity of Niros. Those of us who are of that period also remember, one of them was Embassy, Alitalia, these restaurants were right next door. But they came and then they went, perhaps for good reasons. But our good old friend was there then and is here now. I believe that the most important factor in the success is the consistency it has maintained over all these decades in the quality of its food and the quality of its service. This consistency is just amazing. In fact, that is probably the USP, the fact that it continues to maintain the same quality as it did decades ago. That's probably what it marks out this restaurant from other places to go and eat. And I believe this consistency is due to the very close personal supervision of the entire operation by Pardal Uncle then and by both the Pardal brothers now. Grow old along with me, the best is yet to be. That's how poet Browning wrote. Well, Niros, as we grow old along with you, we believe that you will rise even higher and that your best is yet to come. We will happily wait for that day. And in the meanwhile, we all wish you all the very best in all your efforts. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harsh. May I now request Mr. Pramod Bhasin to come and say a few words about the restaurant. Many of us looked up to him as a student leader in the university. He is a great public speaker, theatre lover, and founder of the well-known Trimurti NGO dedicated to art, culture, and theatre. Pramod is also actively involved in Muskan, a road safety NGO. Mr. Bhasin.
श्री अरविंद सिंह जी और दोस्तों, अभी जैक्स मेरा स्कूल टाइम का साथी है और कभी भी दुश्मनी निकाल देता है. किसी को ये कह के बुलाना ये छात्र और नेता है, मतलब दो गालियां एक साथ दे दी. बट एनीवे, मेरे से कहा गया कि नीरोस के बारे में, मेरे पास नीरोस के बारे में बोलने के लिए कुछ भी नहीं. ये सब बड़ा अच्छा खाना है, कंसिस्टेंसी है. आज पढ़ा कि अरविंद सिंह जी मेवाड़ मेयो से यहाँ तक साइकिल पे खाना खाने आते थे, बगियों में लोग आते थे. और मैं तो हमेशा तभी गया हूँ ओपी परेड, अदर पीपल पेइंग माई पे. कुछ मैं भी अभी अनिल जी बोल रहे थे तो मैं उन बातों को ही बोलना चाहूँगा. हम सब स्कूलों में जाते हैं और आपके बच्चे जा रहे हैं. एक प्रार्थना अभी तक गाई जाती है, हमको मन की शक्ति दे. वाणी जयराम ने गाई थी. वाणी जयराम जयपुर आई करते कराते 11 साढ़े 11 बज गए, शायद इमरजेंसी थी। मैं इमरजेंसी की चर्चा वो नहीं करूँगा जो आजकल चल रही है। हम लोग पिछले गेट से किसी तरह अंदर घुसे, प्रैक्टिकली बंद हो गया। वे अंकल मिल गए, बोले यार ये कोई टाइम है आने का? उनकी हंस की बात थी। मैंने कहा ये बड़ी ग्रेट सिंगर है। अरे क्या नाम है? मैंने कहा वाणी क्या? अरे मैंने तो नाम ही नहीं सुना। मैंने कहा उन्होंने वो गाना गाया है, मन की शक्ति देना, जो स्कूलों में प्रार्थना गाई जाती है और किसी सिटी की गेस्ट है। तो इतने में वाणी जी भी मेरे साथ थी, वो भी अंदर बोले तुमने वो गाना गाया है? तो वाणी इज वेरी एजुकेटेड, ट्रेमेंडस सेंस ऑफ ह्यूमर। हाँ बोले मैंने कोशिश की। तो बोले भाई तुम फिर इसकी गेस्ट हो, तुम तो मेरी भी गेस्ट हो, तुम तो शहर की गेस्ट हो। आप बिलीव करेंगे, एक शायद कोई बहरा था या आधा सा रसोईया था और परदल साहब के 2 आदमियों ने हम 4 जनों को, विजय प्रभाकर मैंने जानता है यूनिवर्सिटी का प्रेसिडेंट था, हम सबको लिटरली खुद सर्व करके उन्होंने खाना दिया। जो अनिल जी कह रहे थे वो मैं भी उस एक्सपीरियंस से गुजरा हूँ। अभी बात चली थी इमोशनल अटैचमेंट की। आजकल बड़े बड़े का आजकल स्लोगनाइज्ड हो गया है, कोडिफाइड हो गया, अच्छा हुआ है, लोगों को समझाने में अच्छा रहता है। नो योर कस्टमर, हॉस्पिटैलिटी, आई कॉन्टैक्ट, ये तो शब्द शायद वेद साहब को भी नहीं आते थे, उनको भी नहीं। बट व्हेनेवर यू गो, हेलो सन, हाउ डू यू लाइक द फूड? पता नहीं, हॉस्पिटैलिटी अभी भी जाता हूँ तो विनय आता है, पूछता है आपके लड़के के क्या हाल है, हाउ इज डूइंग, योर वाइफ वाज सिक, हाउ इज शी? तो शायद यही हॉस्पिटैलिटी, ये योर कस्टमर है जो इनके इंस्टिंक्ट में है, इनकी फैमिली में है, इनके जीन्स में है। ये कोडिफाइड नहीं है, ये इनबिल्ट है। जब इनबिल्ट चीज सामने आती है तो इमोशनल अटैचमेंट हो जाता है। कई बातें सामने आ रही हैं, हम थिएटर करते थे, एक दिन पर्दा साहब बोले यार कोई पंजाबी फिल्म लगाओ। मैंने सब पंजाबी है ही कहाँ जयपुर में, बहुत पुरानी बातें हैं। अरे बोले तुम बुलाओ तो सही। मैं सर खर्चा कौन देगा? विनय के मेंबर्स बोले हम देंगे। अच्छा हमने दिल्ली से प्ले बुलाया। बिलीव मी, ओबेराय साहब, पर्दल साहब ने टिकटें बेची, हमने 2 शो किए और इनका शो तो फुल, और हम सारे जयपुर के पंजाबी इकट्ठे कर लिए और हमारे शो में आदमी बड़े कम आए। उन्होंने अचानक मुझसे पूछा कह रहे तुम्हारा कुछ घाटा वाटा तो नहीं हुआ? एक्चुअली हमने हेरा फेरी करके पैसे इनसे ज़्यादा ले लिए थे, हमने को एक्चुअली 1000 रुपये का उस वक्त फायदा हुआ था और मैंने कहा उनको बता दूंगा तो गड़बड़ हो जाएगी। मैंने जरा वो 1000 रुपये बचाने के लिए मैंने हल्का झूठ बोला। मैं कहा भाई 500 रुपये का लॉस हो। बोले जरा ले गए, 100 के बड़े बड़े नोट होते थे, 500 का नोट नहीं होता। 500 मेरे हाथ में दे दिए। अभी ने I owe that 500 to you because throughout my life I could not tell him that I am cheated. So that was the attachment. जैसे अनिल जी के एक्सपीरियंस हैं, मेरे अलग एक्सपीरियंस है, ऐसे हजारों लोगों के हजारों एक्सपीरियंस है। ये कोई नो योर कस्टमर वाला रेस्टोरेंट नहीं है, ये कोई आई कॉन्टैक्ट वाला कस्टमर नहीं है, रेस्टोरेंट नहीं है। ये शहर की परंपराओं को बनाता हुआ, झेलता हुआ, आगे ले जाता हुआ एक जगह है जहाँ हर कोई एज ए स्टूडेंट अपना स्थान देख लेते हैं। अनिल जी बोले हम तो एक दिन बिल देना भूल गए सर, आपने कुछ भी नहीं किया, हमने साल भर फ्री खाना खाया, यूनिवर्सिटी हमारा प्रेसिडेंट था। मैंने कहा अंकल ऑनेस्टली पे करो, विनय गवाह है 3 साल बाद 744 रुपये करीब बिल था साल भर खाने का, वो हमने इनको पे किया, ब्याज तो नहीं दिया पर खाने का बिल पे किया। ऐसा कोई रेस्टोरेंट मुझे दुनिया में पता। मैं राजपूताना में खड़ा हूँ, राजपूताना का स्टाफ ही आया, आप में से किसी की हिम्मत है रात को 12 बजे किचन खुलवा के खाना खिलवा दें? आप में से किसी की हिम्मत है कि आप जाके कह के पंजाबी थिएटर करो, यहाँ का मैनेजर कहना पंजाबी थिएटर हो जाए? इन परंपराओं का जीता जागता उदाहरण नीरोज कोई रेस्टोरेंट नहीं है। नीरोज कुछ ऐसी चीज है जो कहीं ना कहीं हमारे बीच में बसी हुई है। और मैं चाहता हूँ विनय के बाद शायद हमें इस परंपरा को आगे ले जाएगा, हम सब आगे ले जाएंगे। और मेरी बार बार आपसे रिक्वेस्ट है कि नीरोज को नहीं, जयपुर को भी हम आगे ले जाएं। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
Thank you, Mr. Basim. We have an excellent nostalgic message from Dr. Farooq Abdullah, former Chief Minister, former Union Minister. He writes, as an SMS medical college student, my friends and I had the privilege of frequently visiting the restaurant when our hospital mess was closed, particularly on a Sunday. The food, ambience, and service of the restaurant was unmatched by anyone else at the time. The warm atmosphere that was created for us still remains young and alive in my mind. Even now, when I visit Rajasthan and I am in Jaipur, I love to have a meal at Niros. May I now request Dr. Kanchan Mathur to say a few words about the restaurant. Dr. Mathur works at the Institute of Development Studies. She is also the lead author of the book titled Countering Gender Violence, Initiative Towards Collective Action in Rajasthan. She is the daughter-in-law of Mr. Vivian Mathur, a great connoisseur of food. Her husband Sammy is also here, a friend of mine. Dr. Mathur.
A very warm good evening to everybody, especially to Arvind Singh Ji of Mewar. Looking back, my association with Niros and the Pardal family has been a long journey. The Pardals and my in-laws have been close family friends for over more than 40 years now. And the friendship has been passed on to the children and then on to the grandchildren. As we know, Niros dates back to February 1949. However, my first date with the restaurant, rather the institution that it has become today, was even before I got married, when I came with my father for my younger sister's admission to MGD in the year 1974. On all occasions, including the first one, the craze of visiting Jaipur was also to do with eating at Niros, of course, and that, friends, has continued to date. When I got married and came to Jaipur in 1982, some 33 years back, Rajneesh, or Gugu as we like to call him, our dear friend, invited my husband and me to Niros for a meal. Towards the end of the meal, when I picked up my spoon to taste the very, very famous Niros special, Ved uncle walked up to our table and asked in his husky voice, "So son, is everything under control?" Leaving me completely embarrassed and amused. Even then to me, it seemed clear that Niros was not just a restaurant, but a meeting place, as I met several of my in-laws' friends at Niros. And there was an air of informality amidst the serious dinners and lunches, which for me was epitomized when one of my mother-in-law's friends, Mrs. Ramani Puri, called her from across the room, came over, hugged her, and bemoaned the rising prices of vegetables. Niros was also a popular venue for kitty parties. Many of Mama's kitty parties friends are here today. I can see them. Mrs. Patel is here, so is Mrs. Dhawan. It's good to see everybody. And so much so that Moini auntie, that is Mrs. Pardal, and Mama, they both dedicated a special lunch kitty to Niros restaurant, and 15 women met at Niros once in every month. I can also link some of the dishes on the menu to our family members. Brain curry to Sanjay, my brother-in-law, settled in Bahrain. No visit of his to town goes without savoring it. Chicken sizzlers to daddy and to my daughter Deva. Spanish omelette happens to be Sammy's all-time favorite. And Gaurav, my son, loves chicken butter masala. You have to see to believe the gluttony on our table when some of us friends meet. Among our favorites are chicken chili, and I can see my friends sitting in the audience. I can see Deepa, Guru, Karta. Chicken stroganoff, fish fillet, fried fish with tartar sauce, not to miss the famous mushrooms on toast, and vegetable cutlets. The Niros signature taste in all its dishes remains unchanged over the years, happily. But friends, on a more serious note, Niros has always been ahead of the times. It has had absolutely all firsts to its credit. It was the first to introduce Chinese cuisine to the Pink City, the city's first bakery, the city's first espresso coffee machine, and the ice creams. A standalone restaurant, it serves equally well-made Chinese, continental, and Indian food, all sumptuous, all delicious, always hot, warm, ready to be served. To me, however, one of the most important contributions of Niros and the Pardal family, that is Ved Uncle, Vinay Bhaiya, Rajneesh and Hamid, has been their role in the evolution of the hospitality industry, of course, but more importantly, to the socio-cultural evolution of Jaipur as a city. From a time, like Vaishnav said, when families did not visit restaurants, to a time when it has become a special family dining place, from a time when women did not eat out, to now when women come out and eat in groups or in twos to discuss matters, gossip, vent, or just enjoy the cuisine, and sometimes alone to have a cup of coffee or tea and be by themselves. Over the years, Jaipur has seen the mushrooming of many an eatery, and one does visit them. Yet, one always likes to come back to Niros. To me, I feel that the coming back is like coming back home. It's a warm, safe, happy space where you're always welcomed from everyone, from the doorman to the waiters, to the owners, to the manager, and it is a place where you're always served with a smile. Thank you so much.
We have yet another excellent message from the chairman of Rajasthan Patrika Group, Mr. Gulab Kothari. He's written a wonderful piece in Hindi on the restaurant for the book. That's the only piece in Hindi in the book. Before I read out an excerpt, all of us will agree with him that Mr. Wade Purdle was always interacting with their customers and taking their feedback as they came to the restaurant or having their meal. Both Vinay and Rajneesh do the same, and this gives the great strength to the eatery. I will now read an excerpt of Mr. Kothari. विदेशी पर्यटकों तथा मांसाहारी उच्च श्रेणी के ग्राहकों के लिए एक ही स्वतंत्र रेस्टोरेंट खड़ा है, निरोस। अद्वितीय, बेमिसाल, क्योंकि जिसने 50 वर्ष पूर्व यहाँ खाना खाया होगा, उसे आज भी खाने को वैसे स्वाद उपलब्ध है। टाटा, उबरॉय जैसे समूहों के खाने का स्वाद कई बार बदल गया, निरोस वहीं का वहीं है। He further goes on to say, मेरा बचपन तो मालपुरा में कटा था, गर्मी की छुट्टियों में ही जयपुर आना होता था। एक बार मुझे भी श्रद्धेय बाबू साहब के साथ यहाँ आइसक्रीम खाने का अवसर मिला था। बाद में तो निरोस घर के जैसा रेस्टोरेंट बन गया, 3 पीढ़ियां जुड़ गई। There are innumerable excellent messages in the book. It's very difficult to narrate all of them. We have one by Mr. Sunil Arora, Secretary, Skill Development, Government of India. He writes that when he came for his training to Jaipur in the OTS in 1981, after 15 days, his senior officer instructor asked all the new young IS officers who had come for training that how many days have you been in Jaipur? They said, we have been here for a fortnight. He asked them, have you been to Niros? And they were baffled, they would look puzzled. He said, you've been here 15 days and not been to Niros. Go today itself and give me a report tomorrow about the meal. And Mr. Arora writes that ever since Niros has been his most favorite landmark of the city. We have yet another instance of John and Faith Singh. They were recently married and they were trying to set up their business, and how they had all the meals at Niros just at the cost of rupees 200 a month. So there are innumerable instances which you will get to read once you go through the book. Shri Arvind Singh Ji, Mewar of Udaipur, needs no introduction. A multifaceted personality, he has been preserving a vibrant cultural heritage enshrined in the city palace in Udaipur. Shri Ji is the chairman and managing director of the well-known HRH group of hotels. He is also the chairman and managing trustee of the Marana Mewar Charitable Foundation, Udaipur, through which he is managing a spectrum of philanthropic and charitable activities. A connoisseur of food, Shriji loves cooking. In fact, the book begins with his message where he recalls that how he cycled all the way from Ajmer and back when he was studying in Mayo College just to come and have a meal at Niros. May I request you, sir, to please come and say a few words.
Because to say it's an iconic restaurant, to say that it has been around for 65 years, to say that it's not an eye-contact restaurant and so on and so forth, is absolutely marvelous. I am not denying or undermining the greatness of what this institution has been able to achieve in its lifetime and ongoing. We should look at it as a symbol where this could be formed part of a study in the hospitality business, in the restaurant business, in the eatery business, by people who are far more capable than us, who unemotionally do a case study and come up. Because we all know, some of us who have been in the business of trade for a long time, that in any city, anywhere in the world, that if 10 restaurants open, 9 shut down. So this is how risky the bankers or the lenders think it is to advance money to a restaurant. For any restaurant to sustain itself is something which is not expected anymore. The shelf life of a restaurant, say for instance in Hong Kong or anywhere in Europe or England or wherever, is 3 to 5 years. Here we are talking about 65 years. It's not a mean or a small performance. And for the benefit of those who are in this hospitality business or in the restaurant business, it will be really remarkable to learn as to what is the reason that this restaurant has remained at the top year on year for 65 years, where naturally the shelf life of any restaurant in the business, in the industry, is no more than 3 to 5 years. And what is very interesting, and I've many times thought about this and discussed it with you, is that the menus go through a change. The menus have to change because the cuisine and the culinary service that is given out to a set of people who are the patrons who are regularly patronizing a restaurant also dwindle, and they are looking for change. To hear about mushroom on toast to hear about fried fish and tartar sauce was cuisines which are leftovers of the Raj. And they're still popular and still available and still enjoyed by all of us at this very grand restaurant Niros. I distinctly remember that the items which we take for granted now, which comes out of a tandoor, was something that Vedsa evolved, because the tandoori chicken of the Delhi Moti Mahal was said first, but after that, what about all the other tandoori items that started and were being served by Niros? So the evolution of the cuisine, which was tandoor dependent, was also a gift of Vedsa. There's no doubt about it. Butter chicken. Everybody takes butter chicken. Now we are on the third or fourth generation of butter chicken. Everybody takes that for granted. Everybody takes anything which comes out of a tandoor for granted. But here are some of us who actually saw the development of a culinary art and an addition to our Indian cooking, because tandoor is not a very Indian, it is today, but it wasn't originally a very Indian way of preparing meals. So, but these things will be lost. These facts and figures will be lost unless you put some researcher. And I'm deliberately, because after what Mr. Vesh and what Mr. Bhasin and Mrs. Mathur and all were talking about, there's no end to the stories that one can recount with great delight and great emotions. But I think there are other issues about equally important, or rather more important, about Niros, which needs to be captivated. And it needs to be captivated as quickly and as soon as possible, because before some of us end our release. I mean, coming from Mayo College, as Mr. Vesh said, that if you hadn't been to Niros, you didn't count. Well, obviously you didn't count, because you hadn't arrived. If you hadn't dined at Niros, you hadn't arrived, and therefore you didn't count. Look at the impact. It's not just a meal, but look at the impact of the institution on the social hierarchy of Jaipur. I will go one step further, maybe different, that people come to Jaipur, and one of the reasons they come to Jaipur is to have a meal at Niros. So Niros becomes a destination. Niros is created a call to visit Jaipur. So it is adding to Jaipur as a destination. We all know Jaipur as a destination. The Great Fort and all the other things about Jaipur, the jewelry and the gems and so on and so forth. All that brings people in, but so does Niros. How many places, in India, you tell me, have an eatery or a restaurant or a hospitality outlet which contributes towards a huge number of people, a huge percentage of people to visit that city? I can't think of any, really. I really can't. I mean, we talked about the biryanis and so on and so forth. Of course, they are very, very popular. But for 65 years consistently, to have pulled people, made Jaipur into a destination. So this institution itself has also, in its own way, in a very unique way, without actually being too much in the face way, have contributed towards creating Jaipur as a destination. How many people have looked at Niros as that? I mean, we all go and enjoy the brain curry and the butter chicken and all the rest of it. But how many people have looked at it as something which is contributing towards increasing the economy of the common man in Jaipur? It's not just the bill that the Carter brothers cash and bank, but related to that, there is a huge impact where a very large number of people are getting economically benefited. I would look, I'm not an academician, I'm not at all, but I would like to suggest to the family brother that you should perhaps for somebody else, Mr. Vesh or Mr. Fassin or anyone, I mean, Mrs. Mathur for instance, who should get hold of a young researcher and under their tutelage bring out these aspects which normally you would not expect from a restaurant or a restaurant owner or somebody who has set up a restaurant. I mean, Vedsa has broken all milestones as far as restaurant is concerned. We all accept that. We have all enjoyed that hospitality. We have all, even now, are doing it. I mean, it's not just something of the past. But the scope of Niros goes beyond eating or serving or continuing with a menu which remains more or less unaltered. And as Kothariji of Rajasthan Patrika said, no deviation in the taste. Now that, to my mind, is something which is an antithesis of good restaurateuring or sustaining a restaurant. After all, if there isn't a change, how can the profile which visits the restaurant day in and day out be happy? My understanding or my conclusion is that because you have such a vast menu that you have an option to choose something else, whereas normally in other restaurants the menu is not as enormous as you have. That is my understanding of why Niros has been able to sustain itself for 65 years and not had, and deliberately as a policy, not tried to change the taste, your recipes. It's remarkable. I hope it's thought out. But if it isn't thought out, it's a very good accidental way of sustaining the footfalls. Are these marvelous? So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm really very, very pleased that I've been asked to say a few things and share some of my thoughts. I may have been a bit of a radical in my views, but I feel that the time has come when we need to enlarge the scope of how we look at things. And in a very stereotyped way, if we carry on, then it doesn't become or do justice to Vedsa and his creation, which as far as Jaipur is concerned, after Sir Mirza Ismail, it's a great contributor towards Jaipur as a destination. I also know that the dedication of the family members as far as this restaurant is concerned is something quite unbelievable, and we all experience that great love and affection whenever we go there. And there's always a fight as far as my daughter and Gugu are concerned as to whether we're going to settle the bill or not settle the bill. So we threaten and saying that we are not going to come to your restaurant if you don't allow us to settle the bill. Because which is fair, because it's your business, and I feel that it's very important that everybody does it. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Thank you very much.
May I now request Vinay, Rajneesh and Amit, please come to the meeting.
Just hot off the press.
I will also request the Pertland Oberoi family to come on the dais as well for a group photograph with the release of the book. May I also request Princess Bhargavi Kumari and Thakur Lukendra Singh ji to join us for the group photograph.
बड़ा भारी कंट्रीब्यूशन है जयपुर में।
जी सर।
अभी मैं आपको स्पीच में भी बोला था मैंने कि जो नीरोज यहाँ के कॉमन मैन के, आम आदमी के इकोनॉमिक डेवलपमेंट की तरफ जो योगदान दे रहा है उसके बारे में कोई चर्चा ही नहीं, क्योंकि एक इनडायरेक्टली योगदान दे रहे हैं, डायरेक्टली नहीं दे रहे। और आज इतने वर्षों से देख कितने लोग हैं जयपुर में जो इतनी भारी तादाद में अपना इस प्रकार का योगदान दिए ही जा रहे हैं।
नहीं, वो ऐसे है कि हमारी यही कोशिश है कि जो टेस्ट और जो रेसिपी बनी हुई है तो वो बरकरार रहें और वही रेसिपी हम फॉलो करते हैं, और यही चाह रहे हैं कि वो जो स्टैंडर्ड मेरे फादर सेट कर गए वो मेंटेन रहे। तो हमारी पूरी कोशिश यही है कस्टमर सेटिस्फैक्शन की, खाने की क्वालिटी, क्वांटिटी सब ठीक रहे, सर्विस अच्छी मिले, ग्राहक जो आए।
तो जयपुर वासी यहाँ पर विज़िट कर रहे हो, मतलब क्या विशेषता जयपुर वासी को आप इनवाइट कर रहे हैं उसको लेकर आप?
जयपुर में फैमिलीज आती हैं दिल्ली से, बॉम्बे से, तो उनके लिए हमने राजस्थानी कुछ डिशेस भी रखी हैं। तो वो आते ही उनको पता है कि भाई नीरोज गए हैं और जयपुर आए हैं तो लाल मांस खाना है, गट्टा करी खानी है, आलू प्याज की सब्ज़ी खानी है, तो मांगते हैं और उनको देते हैं, खुश जाते हैं। कई बार उनको इतना अच्छा लगता है तो जाते वक्त कहते हैं कि भाई 2 प्लेट लाल मांस हमारे लिए पैक कर दो, हम दिल्ली ले जाएंगे, बॉम्बे ले जाएंगे। तो ऐसे